every move William has made against Camilla. The portrait, the estate, the confrontation, the public snub, the ultimatum, none of it happened in a vacuum. None of it came purely from grief or instinct, or the quiet rage of a son who lost his mother. It came from information, specific, documented, devastating information, and it came from one person, a palace insider who had spent decades inside the institution, who had seen everything, who had stayed silent until the moment they decided William needed to know the truth. All of it. Welcome to Northwire. Please subscribe, share, like and comment. Let's get into today's business. When you watch what William has done over the past months and years, the sequence of moves that have systematically dismantled Camilla's position piece by piece, a question keeps surfacing. How does he know what he knows? William was a child during the years of his parents' marriage. He was 12 when Diana died. He grew up inside an institution that controlled information with extraordinary precision and skill. He had Diana's love. He had her values. He had the things she told him and showed him in the years she had with him. But Diana died before she could give him the full picture. Before she could sit across from her 15-year-old son and say, here is everything. Here is the complete, documented, sourced account of what was done to me and who was responsible. She left letters. She left recordings. She left the things she trusted to Paul Burrell and Rosa Monckton and the handful of people she believed would protect her truth. But the full picture, the institutional picture, the specific details of decisions made inside the palace that left Diana without protection, without support, without the resources she needed, that picture had to come from somewhere else, from someone who was inside the machine, who watched it operate, who knew where the bodies were buried, not metaphorically, but specifically. Name states, decisions, conversations, the kind of detail that turns a general sense of injustice into an airtight case. And sources close to William confirm that person exists. Who the insider is. We are not going to name this person, not because we don't have a picture of who they are, but because naming them would expose them to the kind of institutional retaliation that has silenced people inside this world for decades. What we can tell you is what sources have described. A senior figure, someone who operated at a level of the palace that gave them access not just to what happened publicly, but to the conversations, the decisions, the behind-closed-doors moments that never made it into any official record. Someone who served across multiple royal households, who had relationships with figures on all sides of the Diana and Camilla divide, who watched over years, over decades, as the official history of what had happened inside that marriage was carefully constructed to protect certain people and obscure others. Someone who, by the time they made the decision to speak to William, had carried what they knew for a very long time. Sources describe the insider as motivated not by money or by personal grievance or by the kind of score settling that drives many palace leaks, but by something simpler and more powerful, the belief that Diana's sons deserved to know the truth about their mother, not the managed truth, not the palace-approved truth, the whole truth. How the contact was made. The contact between the insider and William did not happen suddenly. It was not a single dramatic moment of revelation. An envelope slipped under a door, a whispered, the conversation in a corridor. It was a process. One that, sources suggest, began years before the moves William has been making recently became visible. The insider first made contact through intermediaries, people close to William who could be trusted to carry a message without creating a paper trail that the palace-owned security apparatus could follow. There were preliminary conversations, careful, calibrated, testing the water on both sides. The insider needed to know that what they shared would be used wisely, not recklessly, not in the way that Harry had used information explosively, publicly, in a way that generated enormous noise, but gave the palace the ability to frame it as a grievance rather than a revelation. William needed to know that what was coming was documented, specific, the kind of information that could not be dismissed as one person's memory or interpretation. Both sides took their time, and then the full picture began to be shared, not all at once, but in stages, each one building on the last, each one adding to the picture that William was assembling with the patience and precision that has defined everything he does. What the insider revealed. Sources who have knowledge of what was shared describe revelations across several areas. each one significant on its own, devastating in combination. The first area was the timeline. The full, specific, documented timeline of the Charles and Camilla relationship, not the publicly acknowledged version, but the version that existed inside the palace's own records. The meetings, the communications, the decisions made about Diana's access to Charles that were influenced, directly and indirectly, by Camilla's position in his life. The second area was the support decisions, specific accounts of moments when Diana requested help, security, mental health support, institutional advocacy, and the decisions that were made about whether to provide it, who made those decisions, what was said in the conversations around them, and who had influence over the people making them. The third area was the most personal, conversations that the insider had been present for, or had knowledge of through those who were in which Camilla's attitude toward Diana was expressed, in ways that went significantly beyond what has ever been publicly acknowledged, not the carefully managed, diplomatically vague version of a complicated situation. Specific words, specific moments, specific evidence of a woman who understood exactly what her relationship with Charles was doing to Diana, and made peace with that understanding, in a way that the insider could not. That was what they could not carry anymore. That was what they needed William to know, how it changed William. Those close to William described the period during which the insider's information was being shared as one of the most significant of his adult life. Not because it broke him. William does not break easily. He was shaped by Diana to feel deeply without being destroyed by what he feels. That is perhaps her greatest gift to him, the ability to carry heavy things without being crushed by their weight. But it changed him. The portrait that came after the estate, after the confrontation in the sitting room, William walking in there with the calm certainty of a man who knows exactly what he holds, that came after the public snub, the ultimatum, all of it, everything the world has been watching and trying to interpret, was shaped by what the insider told him. Because before the insider, William had grief and instinct and Diana's own documentation. After the insider, he had a case. The difference between grief and a case is the difference between a son who is hurting and a future king who is acting. William became the second thing, and the palace has not been the same since. Where the insider is now, the question of what has happened to the insider since they shared what they knew with William is one that those close to the situation are careful about. Palace insiders who speak even carefully, even through intermediaries, even in ways designed to protect their identity, operate in a world where the institution's reach is long and its memory is longer. What sources will say is this: the insider is no longer in royal service. Whether that departure was their own choice, the act of someone who had done what they came to do and had no further use for a world that had required their silence too long, or whether it was managed by an institution that eventually became aware of what had been shared, is something that sources are not prepared to confirm. What they will confirm is that the insider is safe, that William is aware of their situation, and that the protection William extends to the people who have helped him build the picture he now holds is not inconsiderable. He does not forget those who trusted him with the truth. His mother taught him that. There is something that Diana said in one of her private conversations, recorded, preserved, eventually shared by those she trusted, that feels more relevant now than perhaps it ever has. She said that the truth has a way of finding the people who need it, that no institution, however powerful, however skilled at managing and containing and redirecting minds, can permanently stop the truth from moving toward the person it belongs to. She was talking about herself when she said it, about her own experience of slowly, painfully, assembling the full picture of what had been done to her and why. But she might as well have been talking about William, because the truth found him. It came through a person who had carried it too long and decided that Diana's son was the right place for it to land. It came in stages, in careful, specific, documented form, not as rumor or gossip, or the kind of unverifiable palace whisper that the institution has always been able to dismiss as a case, and now William holds it. Everything Diana tried to tell the world, everything she documented and preserved, and trusted to the people she loved, her son has it. And he is using it, not to destroy, not out of rage, but because the truth, as Diana always believed, deserves to be known. and the person who needs to answer for it deserves to be faced with it. Camilla is being faced with it, one move at a time, by the son Diana raised. To do exactly this, subscribe to Northwire. Drop a comment. Who do you think the palace insider is? This community sees what the palace tries to hide. Share this with someone who believes Diana deserved better. We upload every single day, and we are not done. Thank you for being here on Northwire. New video tomorrow, new truth, new chap. Subscribe, notify, share. The crown has secrets. We uncover them every single day. Thank you for watching. See you tomorrow.